dee die die. Ay 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 die die ay ay dee die die. Ay ay die ay ay die die ay ay dee die ay ay dee die die. Ay ay die die ay ay dee die die. Good morning, good Erev Shabbos, everybody. We are going to do some Parsha learning. I'm going to begin by first actually reading some of the Parsha that we're going to be talking about. This week's Torah portion is called Vayishlach, and there is the famous episode in this is chapter 33 in Genesis, Bereshis. Jacob is returning from all of his time out in Jacob is returning from all of his time away. He's now returning back to the Holy Land, and he's now going to be confronted by Esav. And there's a the beautiful, challenging, interesting event here, right? Because Esav had previously, a couple decades ago, had swore to take revenge and was going to do in his brother. So now Jacob's returning with all these, with his wives and his children and this great wealth. And we read, Jacob looked up and he saw Esav. Yaakov looked up, he saw Esav approaching. Esav has 400 men with him. So he divided up the children among Leah, Rachel, and his two Bilhah and Zilpah, his handmaids, and they put them. He placed the handmaids and their children in front, Leah and their sons behind them, Rachel and Yosef at the rear. Yaakov then went ahead of them, and he bowed down 7 times as he approached his brother. Esav ran out to meet them. He hugged Jacob. He hugged him, throwing himself on his shoulders and kissed him. They both wept. Esav looked up and he saw the women and the children. Who are these to you? He asked. They are the children whom God has been kind enough to grant me, replied Jacob. The handmaids approached along with their children, and the women bowed down as well. Leah and her children also approached and bowed down. Finally, Yosef and Rachel came and bowed down. What did you have to do with that whole camp that came to greet me? Asked Esav. Why did they all come? Yaakov replies, it was to gain favor in your eyes. I have plenty, my brother, says Esav. Now, we're going to focus on those words in a moment. Let what is yours remain yours. Vayomer Esav, yesh li rav. Now, rav means I have plenty, right? I have, it's like about abundance. Rav is about abundance. Achi, my brother, yehilecha asherlach. What's yours is yours. And Yaakov replies, please, no. He says, Yaakov, alna imna matzatzi chen beinecha. Says, no, if I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me, right? He had sent all of these gifts ahead. After all, he says, seeing your face is like seeing the face of the divine. You have received me so favorably. Please accept my welcoming gifts that is brought to you. Now he says, Ki yesh li kol, right? Ki chanani Elokim, Hashem has been kind to me. Ki yesh li kol, I have kol, I have everything, or I have all I need. Vayivtzar bo vayikach. So Yaakov urged him, and Esav took the gifts. Now, there's a whole school of diplomacy which can be established on this, but we're not going to talk about that. That's for another day. Today, we're going to look at this idea. What is the difference between Esav saying, I have Rav, Yesh li Rav, and Yaakov saying Yesh li Kol. The Sfas Emes, in his third mimer, his third teaching from the year 5631, maybe we could say it was said at Shalosh Shidduch. He brings a idea from the Orach Chaim. And the Orach Chaim explains that even after Yaakov gives Esav the gift, he will be left with everything he originally had. But the simple understanding is that since Esav declined Yaakov's gift, saying that he has a lot and he doesn't need it, Yaakov responded that he has everything, meaning more than Esav. That's the simple meaning. Like, yeah, I can give you this because I have so much. This is nothing. It's just a little bit, right? Well, that's not everything that's going on here. Now let's say Yaakov was just trying to do diplomacy, right? And he wanted to, ingratiate himself to Esav. So then why would he say, I have everything? Right? That the answer would have been, if it was all about ingratiating himself to him, he would have said, like, you deserve this, or he would have expressed it differently. Right? When you give somebody a present, right, you don't say, take this, I have 2 of them at home. Or if you do, you haven't achieved much with the present, right? So obviously, when I give somebody a present, I have, as it were, a little bit less than I had before, right? I used my money, I went in, I bought something, or I made something, and now I have less than what I have. So it has to be that this, what Yaakov is establishing by what he's saying versus what Esav's saying, is much deeper than what simply possessions they have. Kasav ki al yedei hamatana lo yachzer al zeh. Right? He did not lack anything else. So the Sfas Emes explains this beautiful idea. Yaakov's response was not about a reference to what he has, his assets. He wasn't saying this is, a portion of my wealth. He was referring to something totally spiritual. Esav, when Esav says he has Rav, he's talking about his material possessions. I've got everything. I don't need a few more sheep. I don't need a few more, goats. I'm good. In other words, I have so much, I don't need your things. But he's also saying that what I have is, and my thoughts about who I am are tied up in my material possessions. Yaakov, when he says, I have kol, he's talking about a different thing. Now let's think about this. The physical world is really about quantity or lacking, right? We either have something or we don't have something. But in the spiritual world, our goal is not about acquisition of objects, but it's about unification. It's about, and this is the highest level, right? About unity. The ultimate unity being God, and us trying to understand and connect and affect that unity. And unity means inclusiveness. Unity is about everything being together, and God is the ultimate unity. When Yaakov says, I have everything, he's saying, I am aware that godliness is inherent in everything physical. The quantity of what I have has nothing to do with anything important. Whether I have a lot or a little, I actually have, in quantitative terms, in spiritual terms, I have everything. Now, take it another step. There is godly life force within everything. So Yaakov is able to connect with that spiritual nature of the universe. Now we're going to take a little bit of a sidestep here. And we're going to look at something that happened previously in the Torah. When Sarah, Abraham's wife, decided that she no longer could cohabit, they could no longer share the same home with Abraham. So what did she do? She required that Hagar be sent out. And so Hagar is sent out into the desert, and she thinks she's going to die, and she's with her son Ishmael. And there's a midrash which says that, based on this, that we're really like Hagar. We're all blind to the well. There is a well, but she can't see it, right? And she prays, and God opens her eyes, and she's able to see it. Hagar was in desperate need of water. She's in the middle of the desert. She has no idea how she's going to find it, but the salvation came when God gave her the understanding. And the Sfas Emes would say, when God gave her understanding that everything comes from God and that God is everything. When she had this realization and then she was connected to everything, then she saw the water she needed. It wasn't a blindness of a physical blindness. It was a blindness to God in the world. And many times we ourselves can find ourselves in challenging situations. Maybe we're not returning back from exile. Maybe we're not returning back from exile and bringing with us all of these things and having to encounter Esav. But all of us find ourselves in less than ideal situations. So, think about Hagar out in the desert, not knowing where's she going to find an answer. Where's she going to find water? She looks around. She sees nothing. She has with her son, who's desperate for water. She's desperate. And the Midrash fills in the text for us. How did she come to see the water? It's when she prayed and God gave her an understanding that everything comes from God and that God is everything. That opened it. So to us, we can learn a lesson from Hagar here. When we're in those situations, right, where we're in a pickle, we often try to find, and first and foremost, we try to find some kind of physical solution to the problem we are facing. Well, Yaakov knew that he wasn't going to be able to overpower Esav's men. They had 400 of his SEAL team, his top guys, his generals, his biggest soldiers were with him. It wasn't going to be a physical battle. He had to approach it from a spiritual angle. When we face challenges, seemingly insurmountable problems, this Torah is teaching us that we have to connect with the godliness of everything. When we become aware, remind ourselves that God is everything and that everything comes from God, we also become aware of solutions. we merit to see a way through whatever is in front of us. I want to wish everybody a beautiful Shabbos. And if you're going through any challenges, difficulties, things that are real problems in your lives, maybe this is the Shabbos when we can connect ourselves to the unity of God in a profound way and really realize everything's from God. And then that will give us the awakening, the opening of our eyes to a beautiful resolution and solution. Good Shabbos.